My first question is, why do we get so nervous when we sit here?
Well, it's a sort of, I must be outside the vortex, and why am I? So what are the common denominators with being out of the vortex? I'm not sure I'm ready. I'm worried about what others might think. I'm more active in my question than I am my answer. So I'm not quite up to speed. I care about getting this answer. It matters to me, so I'm not just relaxed about it. That's why we saw you.
My wife wanted to be here, as she wanted to be here last year, but so she had a question for you, actually. Can I ask her a question?
We are reaching for you.
That's true.
Not her.
All right, that's true. All right. First I'm going to show you something. This will prompt the question. See that? I get frustrated from time to time. For the tape purposes, I just showed Abraham my middle finger, which I smashed on Sunday. And I do handyman work for the most part. I do other things.
Or not so handyman. So anyway, you're saying is sometimes I do my handyman work from inside the vortex. Sometimes I do my handyman work from outside the vortex.
See, and that's the thing. I kind of know the answer because, in other words, I manifested this. I did it. I seen the whole thing coming down the pipe. Let me see if I can make this short. So I do this kind of work during the week, and my wife married me because I'm a handyman, I think now. And I'm doing this stuff on the weekends, and it frustrates me somewhat. So I've been doing all these projects for years, and I say to my wife, I finally put my foot down and said, hey, let's get this place organized so it's easier for me to do. I want the house to look beautiful. I want it to be a home, but it's a little bit of a mess, and I'm just kind of tired of it. So at any rate, I'm sort of doing the next job, and against my better judgment, I wasn't ready to do it because
Well, you don't have to give us any details.
Right.
In other words, you've said quite enough. You said that I was focused upon the absence of the wonderful relationship I have. I was focused upon things that who I really am is not a vibrational match to. I was using nitpicking, unimportant excuses to not be in the vortex. And then I tried to proceed anyway with action. And whenever I proceed with my action before lining up my energy, it always goes screwy in some way. What we're getting at is when it comes back with a self-inflicted injury, it is your sort of wake-up awareness that everything that is happening is your doing to you. In other words, this is something that you know, but when you get outside of that, that's always when a demonstration of it comes. Here's what we really want to give you about this. This is so big and so important. That sounded a little bit like your own inner being is punishing you for being out of the vortex. And it's the opposite of what we mean. It's that you so want to be on top of life. You so want to be the deliberate creator of your experience. You so want to be in control of things. You so want to get all those plates spinning. Yes. You so want to be all things to all people. You so want to be a responsible husband and a good caretaker of your own shoemaker's kids have no shoes sort of thing. You so want to be that in your wanting to be that, but beating up on yourself for not being that. That's what that self-infliction is about. In other words, let's go back to it.
Because I never do this. I've never done this. Never, ever. It wasn't a hammer.
So a post-manifestational awareness. Post-manifestational awareness is showing you that you have the vibration going on, but because you're missing it, that then a manifestation comes. Now, we haven't talked about this here today, but it's a really good opportunity to do it. When something manifests that's obvious like that, when something manifests, whether it's a diagnosis or a self-inflicted or not seemingly self-inflicted injury or a condition that arises, when something happens that is a manifestation, every manifestation is an indication of vibration. A good way to get to the heart of the vibration that this is an indication of is by asking yourself, now that this manifestation has happened, what is my feeling response to it? What's my knee-jerk feeling response to this after that? This is the question that we want to ask yourself. How does this manifestation, which is an vibrational indicator, how does this vibrational indicator feel? How does it feel? Now, it doesn't hurt now, but how does it feel? It feels like wasn't watching what I was doing, feels like I wasn't focused,
Feels
like
I was tired, I was I was cranky, angry.
There you go. So now, any other things in your life going on where you've been feeling that way? In other words, all of those emotions have been really chronically showing up in your experience before you did that. And if you had caught any one of them as an emotion and used it as a reason to get into the vortex, then it wouldn't have got bigger and turned into this manifestational evidence of your vibration. In other words, by not passing it off, but by instead acknowledging that all of those things were present. If someone is having a hard time breathing, feeling smothered, feeling confined, they've got that going on before the manifestation that gives them that. And so this seems simple, and one of the reasons that we are eager to talk with you about this not very important, not very heavy-duty, sort of insignificant but irritating thing is because the majority of the reasons that the majority of people are out of the vortex the majority of the time are not bigger than the reasons that resulted in that. They're not bigger than that. And so everyone in this room is looking at your little manifestational indicator, and they're saying, well, that's not a very big deal. And we say, it represents not being in the vortex, and that is a big deal, you see. So we just wanted to take this opportunity to help you to realize that all those nitpicking little excuses that make you frustrated or make you angry or make you feel a little overwhelmed, they seem in the scope of things insignificant, but in the summation or culmination or steadiness of them, they are just chronic reasons that you don't go to the vortex. So you could literally hold yourself, you're not, but you could literally hold yourself away from the majority of the things that are important to you by nitpicking over things that are nothing more than just irritating. And for no reason except that you're willing to tolerate things that are irritating, but you're not willing to tolerate things like hurting yourself. Esther said to Jerry one day, I think that it would be helpful. These emotions are great, but I think it would be better if when I'm in a negative place, if a tooth would just fall out. And I don't think I'd let it go that long. And so that's really the point that we're making, is that when you do let it go, it manifests into something bigger, but not as punishment. It's just always the way that it happens. And now after the fact, you can say, I think I'm going to clean up that irritation in less uncomfortable ways. You get it, what we're getting at? So now what? So what are you irritated about? What's that all about?
It's just, for a long time, I've wanted to get organized, get rid of stuff, and I have a real problem with it. I'm like a recovering pack rat.
So what makes you gather?
I'm not bad anymore. I'm not that bad anymore because the state told me I had to clean my yard up. That was 10 years ago, 20 years ago now, but I still have some residuals.
So what is at the basis of that? You see, whenever there are manifestational indicators, there are always vibrations that support that, and then vibrations that support that, and then vibrations that support that. So what do you think is a common denominator in several thoughts that you have that would make you hold on to stuff that you aren't likely to want or need again? What is at the vibrational root of that? Have you ever noticed that as soon as you clean something out and get rid of a bunch of stuff?
I'm feeling better already, but we are still getting rid of stuff, but I'll get something and say, but I might need that someday. Or I don't want to throw it out. I want at least somebody else to get it.
Exactly.
So it takes time.
So what is it that you're tripping over again and again and again? In other words, what is it that makes you...
There's so much stuff on the floor, I'm tripping over everything.
Again, a representation. We're not kidding. We're not that low. But what is the vibrational trip up there? In other words, what does the source within you know that you don't know when you're outside the vortex? The source within you knows that whatever you want, whenever you want it, will show itself to you. The outside the vortex says, this isn't easy to find, and it costs money anyway, and I might need it someday. Isn't there a shortage consciousness going on that says, if I clean up this clutter, if I let this stuff go, whether it's precious or just junk, is still possessions, and in my desire to possess it, isn't there a shortage consciousness going on in there, and a complete lack of remembering that in and out, that whatever you want will be there? The vortex is organizing all cooperative components, you see. Isn't it interesting that you can have a little accident that gives you a little indicator that points to a little frustration, but beneath the frustration that is chronic, there's a bigger wad of something, and so that shortage consciousness is showing up in other ways in your experience than only this, isn't it?
Oh, most definitely.
So you said you feel better about that now. We're always delighted to talk with anyone who's out of the vortex for any reason, but it's particularly gratifying to visit with somebody who's out of the vortex for no damn good reason. Now, someone out of the vortex would argue, well, but I have my reasons. And so we take it deeper into that shortage consciousness, which is a big thing that you want to clean up, because once you really get it, that whatever you want will show up anytime you want it. And think about it. Anytime you are outside the vortex trying to sort anything out, there is more clutter than you will ever begin to reconcile. Esther will watch one of the political programs on television and realize that 100% of politics is outside the vortex. Doesn't matter which side of the aisle she is listening to, they're all just scrambling around, just trying to make trouble. They've left the solution so far behind. Never mind the solution. Let's just make as much trouble for each other as we can. Solution? Who needs a solution? We can make trouble for each other. In other words, they're so vibrationally apart. Anytime you're trying to accomplish anything while you're outside the vortex, it just compounds it and compounds it and compounds it until you have a wake-up smashed finger.
It's funny you should mention that political thing, because that drives me nuts too. So somebody mentioned at lunch I should just turn it off.
It's clutter. It's clutter. In other words, you can watch it. We're not trying to destroy television. Well, really, it would help. But you can watch it, and it will help you to launch some rockets of desire about the world you would like to be a creative part of. In other words, it will cause you to advance as a creator who has that new intention. But then when you look back at the complaining, it tears you apart. In other words, it's interesting how the more you are in the vortex, the more things that you used to be able to watch that didn't bother you now bother you when you watch them. When you start hanging out in the vortex, you become addicted to, you become a craver of vortex-like things, you see. Really good. Enough?
Yes, thank you. I just had, last year I came and I didn't get up here, but I had a thought for an idea for a book, Jerry's Questions. I think that'd be cool. From start to finish, it'd be fun. Thank you.
It will be Jerry's Abraham encyclopedia set of never-ending volumes. All day, every day, more questions. It's a good thing. That's a good thing. Now what? A little slow going, but don't you now know more about the vortex than you've ever known? Don't you understand your relationship with it? Don't you know what your dominant priority is? Don't you understand your guidance system better? Don't you want to think the thoughts that feel better? Aren't you willing to be nicer to yourself when you're not in the vortex? Aren't you willing to let everybody else off the hook who hasn't been trying that hard to make you feel good? Aren't you ready to take responsibility for how you feel? Don't you sort of feel empowered to do it? Don't you love the feeling of being out of the vortex and then consciously, deliberately focusing yourself in? Don't you love coming into your own power? Don't you really like knowing that the universe has your back, that everything that you want's all queued up for you and it's just a matter of focusing yourself into it? Don't you now, from inside the vortex, appreciate more of those outside the vortex contrasting experiences that have caused you to expand? Don't you like knowing that you will constantly expand? Don't you like knowing that it's going to be a constant tuning up? Don't you like that it's going to be a constant tuning up? Don't you like that it's going to be a constant tuning up? Well, that's the part you don't like so much, because you keep thinking you want to get in the vortex and get it done and live happily ever after. And we want you to hear something that is hard to hear, but it is so, so true. And that is, it's getting into the vortex that is the rush of life. Just like when you're hungry and you eat something that tastes better than when you've been eating all day long. when you're out of the vortex and then you work your way in, that's that zest. That's that feeling. That's that feeling of motion forward, you see. You just don't want to make a career out of step 1. You want to make a career out of step 3, which is moving into the vortex, into the vortex. And each time you're in there, then you can look at those people who you felt were responsible for your not being in, and now they look beautiful to you because they gave you the reason to expand, and in your moving into your expansion, you are thrilled with everyone involved.